we get the question, where does the name porkchop come from a lot? During the Voyager era, NASA started to create these plots when planning interplanetary missions. They wanted to see how much propellant would be required if the spacecraft took off on a particular day and arrived on another particular day. By putting the launch date on the x-axis and the arrival date on the y-axis, you get these funky contour plots, which the engineers at NASA decided to call porkchop plots. We think these psychedelic plots are the perfect representation of old space. Complicated, clunky, and uninspiring. And the name porkchop comes from the idea of asking ourselves, how can we make this simpler, but also better? We constantly ask ourselves this question at all stages of the design process. And today, we're really excited to show what following this design philosophy has allowed us to create.
Much like the rest of the PocketQube community, porkchop started as a passion project. We are three guys who care deeply about the future of space exploration. Our home is Stockholm, Sweden, where we all met in college.
Just introduce yourself and start the video.
Okay, so I'm Matija. I'm working at porkchop as the head of electronics and control. I'm still doing my master's in digital and embedded systems. I worked with powers of Nike back here in Pakistan for almost 2.5 years. Currently working with another startup called Stockholm as a data build engineer. Hi, my name is Nico. I'm from Mexico. I did my bachelor's in mechatronics and I just finished my master's in aerospace. I had some experience working with CubeSats. There's this project in PocketQube. I was there working as a ground station developer, but also I did my thesis designing mission operations in the propulsion system.
Hey, I'm Matija Milenovic. I'm the head of structures and interfaces at porkchop. My background is in mechanical engineering and in aerospace engineering. I've worked on some really cool R&D projects at Ericsson in the past, and more recently, I worked at KTH Hybrid, developing a pod that will travel faster than this metro is right now. Also, in free time, I like to ski, and I don't have a lot of free time.
The thing which has really brought us together is our shared vision. We want to enable affordable space exploration for everyone. When we first came across PocketQubes, we were overjoyed by the fact that there are so many of you out there who share our vision, affordable space exploration for everyone. And we believe that the desire to explore is such a human one. And our goal at porkchop is to give PocketQube developers the tool to explore space affordably and profitably.
We've been asking ourselves, how can PocketQubes be made even better than what's out there today? How can we take advantage of the fact that PocketQubes are able to provide many of the same functionalities as CubeSats, yet still work around the small size constraint? Some of the drawbacks PocketQubes face today come from the fact that once they're deployed in orbit, they're stuck there. And this really limits the lifetime of PocketQubes and limits how much PocketQube developers can achieve in a single mission. It also means PocketQubes can't change their orbit throughout their mission, avoid collisions, or perform orbit phasing. And we know, of course, that a propulsion system has the ability to solve all of these problems. Since becoming increasingly widespread among CubeSats, propulsion systems have been enabling longer-lasting and more exciting missions. Now it's time for the same thing to happen to PocketQubes. Today, we are extremely excited to announce what we believe is going to take PocketQubes to the next level, porkchop X. porkchop X represents the ultimate propulsion experience for PocketQube developers. porkchop X replaces the structural frame inside PocketQubes, adding propulsion to your PocketQube without taking up any payload volume. We call it invisible propulsion. All of the electronics are embedded right inside. Let's compare this to existing propulsion solutions. Traditionally, propulsion systems have taken up significant space inside the PocketQube and have required an entire side of your PocketQube be completely empty. porkchop X has a structural frame made of anodized aluminium. We wanted to maintain the same exact mechanical interface as current structures, including a feed-through hole in the middle. porkchop X has a 10 by 12 millimeter hole, meaning users have the freedom to pass cables for antennas or sensors through porkchop X. We've also added optional flanges for PocketQubes, which have deployable solar arrays on top, capable of holding even the largest of solar arrays.
Another huge problem with existing propulsion systems is that they come with a single thruster which can only point in one direction. If this single thruster malfunctions or has any sort of defect, the entire propulsion system is rendered useless. It also means that if the thruster is in any way misaligned, then there is no way to correct this when firing. For these reasons, porkchop X comes with 8 thrusters in total, 4 main thrusters and 4 redundant ones. By adding dual redundancy to each of our thrusters, we are confident that porkchop X will be able to operate properly during its lifetime. What excited us most about including 8 thrusters right out of the box is that it now allows PocketQube developers to perform attitude maneuvers in 2 axes using porkchop X, to desaturate the reaction wheels, but also to let them easily compensate for any possible thrust misalignment when firing. Better yet, when you run out of propellant in the main thrusters, you can make use of the redundant ones for the rest of the mission. porkchop X uses vacuum arc thruster technology, which is perfect for PocketQubes. It can operate on very little power, and it uses solid metal fuel, so you don't need to worry about any leaks on board your PocketQube. Vacuum arc thruster technology works by consuming one of the electrodes when firing. When enough voltage is applied, the solid mass almost instantaneously becomes a fast-moving plasma, providing thrust to the PocketQube. porkchop X also doesn't use any ITER materials, so transporting it is easy as pie.
Now let's talk about specs. You would think that, well, those guys at porkchop have spent all their time packaging all of the electronics and thrusters inside such a tiny package, so there has to be somewhere where they cut corners, right? Well, not quite. porkchop X is completely designed around the thrusters because we want it to blow you away. We want it to be extremely confident in the data we presented, which is why we fired porkchop X thrusters over 500,000 times during testing. Each thruster on porkchop X delivers 3 micronewtons of thrust, meaning you can get up to 12 micronewtons of thrust when firing all 4 main thrusters. Another key performance spec is specific impulse, or ISP for short. porkchop X thrusters have an ISP of around 4,000 seconds, which translates to very efficient use of fuel. Now let's have a look at how porkchop X can boost your PocketQube. porkchop X can provide up to 35 meters per second delta V for a 2P PocketQube, or up to 23 meters per second for a 3P. Using all this delta V, let's take a look at some of the great things you can do with a porkchop X. Currently, PocketQubes have an estimated lifetime of around 2.5 years, orbiting at 500 kilometers, or 2 years, 8 months for 3P PocketQubes. porkchop X lets you extend the lifetime of a 2P by up to 1.9 years, or by up to 1.3 years for a 3P. How cool is that? Who would have thought that up to 76% longer lifetime could be achieved by simply swapping out your structural frame with a porkchop X? Now let's say you want to use porkchop X to deorbit. porkchop X allows 2P PocketQubes to descend by up to 64 kilometers and 3Ps by up to 42 kilometers, shortening deorbit time to just 14 and 15 months respectively. PorkChop X is opening up a whole new spectrum of possibilities for PocketQubes, and we are so happy to be the first to offer attitude maneuvers for PocketQubes using a propulsion system. PorkChop X will be available for sale in December 2020, starting at just $59.99.
PorkChop X is really power efficient. We have achieved these really impressive performance specs, all while consuming only 600 milliwatt per thruster, or up to 2.4 watt when firing all 4 main thrusters. PorkChop X currently works with a 5-volt power input. However, we can easily scale this up to 12-volt or 24-volt rail. PorkChop X receives commands from onboard computer using 𝗖𝗐cie. It's wonderfully simple to operate, and we really think that you're going to enjoy using it. We even managed to squeeze some sensors inside, which gives users data when monitoring the health of their PorkChop X, giving you full control at all times. We have also baked several fail-safe mechanisms right inside, which ensures that your mission is never compromised, no matter what happens. PorkChop X is truly the ultimate propulsion experience for your PocketQube.
But what really excites us is the new missions that you, the PocketQube developers and enthusiasts, will dream up of. Whether it's for Earth observation, IoT, or deep space missions, we want to be right behind you, giving you the push you need to get into the orbit of your dreams. And there's a really nice quote which summarizes how we feel about producing the best possible propulsion systems for our users. We always believe that if you give people wonderful tools, they will do wonderful things. The next step in our plan is to gain space heritage. In February 2021, the first ever PorkChop X will be launching on board 𝗖𝗀, a 2P PocketQube built on FOSSA Systems' FOSSASat-2 platform. This mission will give PorkChop X space heritage, as well as allow us to make further design improvements based on all of the lessons we'll learn.
We've learned a tremendous amount from working with users such as FOSSA, and our door is always open for people who want to reach out to us about getting propulsion in their PocketQubes. We want to hear any ideas, comments, or suggestions people have on how we can improve. We are also aware that many PocketQubes today follow different standards on the inside, so we are very open to working with each individual user to make a customized PorkChop X for their particular needs. Finally, we will be hosting a live Q&A this Saturday on YouTube at 6 p.m. Glasgow time, where we'll be answering any questions you might have and getting to know you. We hope you'll join us. Despite being continents apart and restricted by COVID, we at PorkChop love the fact that we are all united in our common goal to explore space and develop truly wonderful nanosatellite technologies. Thank you, and have a great PocketQube 2020.